It's Thursday, February 7th. The Supreme Court on Wednesday reserved its verdict on a clutch of petitions seeking review of its September 2018 judgment that lifted the ban on the entry of women of menstruating age into the Sabarimala temple. Here are some of the arguments advanced by those seeking a reconsideration of the Supreme Court judgment. 1. Article 15 of the Constitution, which threw open all public institutions of secular character to all classes of people, conspicuously omitted religious institutions. Therefore, it was an error, the petitioners argued, to strike down a temple custom under Article 15. 2. The Supreme Court erred in giving an expanded interpretation to untouchability under Article 17 in the context of Sabarimala. The practice has nothing to do with caste, hence the Sabarimala custom cannot be equated to untouchability, so Article 17 has no application. Justice Nariman at that point interjected to say, don't go by the notion that it was struck down only on the basis of untouchability. 3. The exclusionary practice in Sabarimala is based on the character of the deity, which is that of Naishtika Brahmachari. Religious right of a devotee under Article 25 has to be exercised in consonance with the character of the deity. 4. This is an internal affair of a religion. Unless there is a criminal law which forbids a practice, courts cannot interfere. Unless the practice is very abhorrent, courts normally do not interfere in activity associated with religious institutions. Opposing the petitions seeking review, the Kerala government argued, it has been said that courts cannot touch religion. Religious practices can be overruled when they overawe fundamental rights. Custom is subject to fundamental rights. The touchstone of our constitution is, you will not discriminate or exclude. Responding to a petitioner's statement that the Supreme Court judgment resulted in protests in Kerala, the state government held that disruption in social peace cannot be a ground to let a constitutional wrong persist, and that Article 17 relating to untouchability may or may not be the central aspect here, as not all of the judges pronounced a decision in that behalf. Similarly, Article 15 does not affect the point on which the three majority judgments reached consensus. Interestingly, the Devaswam Board, which runs the shrine and had earlier opposed the entry of women of menstruating age, changed its position. The board on Wednesday held that it is high time that a particular class not be discriminated on the grounds of biological attributes. Equality, the board said, is the dominant theme of the Constitution. Indira Jaising, arguing for Kanakadurga and Bindu, the two women who managed to enter the shrine despite protests, referred to the purification rituals after the two women entered the temple to state as proof that menstruating women have been treated as a class of untouchables. The advocate for two other women argued if a 10-year-old girl can breach the Naishtika Brahmacharya of God, then a child is being portrayed as a sexual object. When she formally entered active politics days ago, husband Robert Vadra's alleged dubious financial dealings, it was pointed out, would be baggage Priyanka Gandhi carries. On Wednesday, in what is being seen as an effort to deal with this political liability head-on, to send a message perhaps, the newly appointed Congress General Secretary accompanied her husband to the Enforcement Directorate's office, where he appeared in connection with a money laundering case. As she left the premises after dropping him off, she was quoted as saying, "I stand by my family." This is the first time Vadra is appearing before any probe agency in connection with alleged criminal charges of dubious financial dealings. A Delhi court had directed Vadra to appear before the ED on Wednesday when he moved court seeking anticipatory bail. He's been granted protection from arrest till the 16th of this month. Vadra had alleged he was subjected to unwarranted, unjustified and malicious criminal prosecution which was politically motivated, and that he was hounded and harassed to subserve political ends. PTI quoted official sources as saying Vadra will be put through questions on transactions, purchase and possession of certain immovable assets in London, and his statement will be recorded under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Mirroring a much criticized recent move by the administration in Bulandshahr, Uttar Pradesh, the Kamal Nath-led Congress government in Madhya Pradesh has evoked the National Security Act against 3 men accused of cow slaughter in Khandwa. Between 2007 and 2016, his predecessor had invoked the National Security Act in cases of cow slaughter against 22 persons, as per the Indian Express. It bears repeating that this law is only meant to be used for serious cases of national security. Under the preventive detention clauses of the National Security Act 1980, the state is allowed to lock anybody up for up to a year without really bringing a charge against them. This is how the law works. The Act gives power to the central government, state government, or even the Commissioner of Police or District Magistrate to detain anyone, to prevent him from acting in a prejudicial manner against the security of the state, maintenance of public order, or maintenance of supplies and services which are essential to the community. The matter is brought before an advisory board constituted under the Act with grounds on which the preventive detention has been made. The detainee is not legally represented by anybody in the advisory board hearing. Preventive detention is an extraordinary provision, and its use even in peacetime has been roundly criticized by rights activists. With no safeguards in place, the provision has been grossly misused in India. In fact, hundreds of arrests under the NSA have taken place casually. As the jobs crisis dominates the discourse this election season, politicians falling back on the often repeated bogey of outsiders or migrants from other states cornering jobs comes as no surprise. Interestingly, here it is the Madhya Pradesh government that is claiming migrants from Uttar Pradesh and Bihar are taking over local jobs, when data shows that Madhya Pradesh has seen an increase in out-migration rates and is placed fourth in terms of people leaving their home state in search of work after UP, Bihar and Jharkhand. The Kamal Nath-led Congress government has now made it mandatory for all industries facilitated by the government to have a 70% jobs quota for locals. The Principal Secretary of the Industries Department told the Times of India this would cover all industries, since there is no industry that is not state-facilitated. The jobs quota is a promise Kamal Nath had made in December right after forming the government. His assertion then that UP-walas are taking away local jobs had Twitter reminding him that he is a UP-wala who took away the Chief Minister's job from the local. On a serious note though, Madhya Pradesh is not the first state to have a policy seemingly favouring the sons of the soil. Gujarat has proposed one, Odisha, Himachal Pradesh, Maharashtra, Telangana all have policies that require industry to employ a certain percentage of locals. This is reportedly not strictly monitored. But as has been argued in earlier cases, such policies violate Article 14 of the Constitution, which prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. Also, causing impediments to movement of labour does not make economic sense. Worse still, if every state begins to drive out so-called outsiders, think of what that will mean for India as a union of states. It's not that everyone does this, but there are some priests and also bishops who've done it, said Pope Francis in a historic first admission of the Catholic Church's history of sexual abuse of nuns. The papal admission followed a special issue of the Vatican's women's magazine on how nuns have silently accepted years of abuse for fear of retaliation. We do not need a revolution to give women the place they deserve in the church, an editorial in the issue reads, outlining how nuns have been forced to undergo secret abortions or raise children unrecognized by their priest fathers for years in disgrace. Pope Francis in the last 1 year has apologized for previously unspoken scandals within the church, including the systemic sexual abuse of children. The pontiff will also be holding a meeting on sexual abuse later this month, which is to be attended by members of the Catholic Church from around the world. The issue of sexual assault and discrimination of women at the church was brought to the forefront after Jalandhar Bishop Franco Mullakkal was accused of raping a Kerala nun 13 times between 2013 and 16. With police questioning delayed and the nun's veracity doubted, the issue tore through India's Catholic Church, with dozens of nuns taking to the streets in protest. Love your morning fix? Help support our journalism. Subscribe to Scroll Plus using the link in the description.